Relations between Malaysia and Australia have certainly had their difficult passages, and now they're being tested again. An independent Australian senator is back home after being refused entry to Malaysia, where he'd planned to meet government and opposition representatives. Senator Nick Xenophon was invited to Malaysia by Bersih, a group campaigning for electoral reform in the run-up to what promises to be one of the closest polls in Malaysia in many years. From Canberra, political editor Catherine McGrath reports.
It's made news in Malaysia and in Australia.
Tonight, treated like a criminal. A diplomatic row is brewing between Australia and Malaysia, with federal independent Nick Xenophon detained in Kuala Lumpur.
South Australian Independent Senator Nick Xenophon was denied entry to Malaysia when a no-land order was issued. His visit had been pre-planned and was part of an unofficial tour. On his itinerary was a meeting with opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim, as well as a meeting with a senior minister and election commission officials.
You've blown up a copy of your notice of refusal of entry, and that's enduring, is that? You are a persona non grata in Malaysia?
It's indefinite, so which is a pity. Malaysia's a great country to visit, fantastic people.
It's a big step for any country to stop a politician from entering, and as expected, Australia protested. Foreign Minister Bob Carr sought clarification from the Malaysian High Commissioner to Canberra and spoke directly by telephone to Malaysia's Foreign Minister.
We really stick to the proposition that this is disappointing and surprising. There was no harm to be done by having an Australian senator there to observe an election process.
However, Senator Carr also made clear this issue won't damage bilateral ties.
I rang the Malaysian Foreign Minister Hanifa, last night and was able to express our surprise and our disappointment at this. I said I thought no ill could come of having an Australian senator there to observe the elections. He said Malaysia took strong objection to foreigners interfering in their election campaign. He said Malaysia's a democracy and did not appreciate this interference from a politician outside the country. We agreed that the relationship between Malaysia and Australia would not suffer as a result of this difference of opinion.
In Malaysia, the New Straits Times newspaper editorial described Senator Xenophon as undesirable and unfriendly to Malaysia's interests, and said foreigners ought not to take a hostile attitude towards an elected government. Why does an Australian politician attract so much attention at an international airport? It's simple, really. Malaysia is in the midst of a momentous political struggle. The ruling UMNO political party is being challenged by some broad-based opposition. UMNO is still a strong political operation, but suddenly in recent years opponents have found a voice and a figurehead in former Finance Minister Anwar Ibrahim, and one-off street protests have begun to gather momentum. Senator Nick Xenophon has been public in his support for the yellow-shirted Bersih movement, seen by UMNO as an enemy of the government. In 2011 in Canberra, he donned the banned Bersih campaign shirt in a show of support for those campaigning in Malaysia.
And the fact is, there's very serious concern that the elections in Malaysia won't be free and fair, and this movement is all about ensuring that.
Dr Amrita Malhi is an academic expert in Malaysian history and politics.
There's a level of activity and a level of momentum that is new, that is unprecedented, and I think that the opposition is emboldened by the fact that they had such a strong 2008 election result. So where that leads to, again, we're all going to have to wait and see. But I think that yes, there is a sense that the contest is hotter than it usually is.
When Senator Xenophon arrived in Malaysia, he was told he couldn't enter and would need to go back to Australia. The Malaysian Bar Council representative rushed to the airport to speak to him.
I intend to have access to the senator and appeal to the authorities not to do this senseless and silly, stupid act. I think the Prime Minister, who has high aspirations and Malaysia is a modern democracy, must realise that aspiration must be followed by action.
When he returned home, Nick Xenophon explained his position.
It is clear that I was deported because of my advocacy for the pro-democracy movement in Malaysia, in particular the group Bersih, which is the Malay word for clean, calling for clean and fair elections. While yesterday was a very long and unpleasant day for me, I think Malaysians face many long and unpleasant years if they don't get clean and fair elections, which are due in the next few weeks.
I think basically the Malaysian government's position is that he has played himself into their internal affairs in a way that they don't particularly welcome and aren't required to put up with.
Thank you.
The Australian government is indicating it isn't going to take the matter any further, but it will write a letter to the Malaysian High Commissioner formalising its complaint about the actions against Senator Xenophon.